Hi neighbors, welcome back to another video of Cooking with Neighbors. It is I, Jerry Ellen, doing some canning over the next few days, and thought I'd share with you all what I'm making, or at least some of what I'm making. I'm doing a couple of videos. I'll break them into each recipe into its own separate video. And right now, I'm going to be making green tomato chow. And if you like the sound on my video now, it's because of this mic. My friend Linda at Create with Linda got this for me. I'll leave a link to her channel under the video. Okay, what am I doing? I gotta wash these. I want 8 pounds of green tomato and 2.5 pounds of onions, and I want to slice them, wash them, slice them, wash them. Now I'm going to chop these onions in half, peel them, and I'm going to start slicing them as well thinly, half moon shapes. So yeah, just slice up 2.5 pounds of onions. And when using this thing that I'm using here, just go down to a point that you're comfortable going to, because you don't want to scrape your fingers or your knuckles. Then do the rest by hand, the rest of the piece of onion by hand. Okay, peeling these onions. The older they are, the more potent they are. Let's keep going. Okay, there's my 2.5 pounds of onion. Okay, so I put these in 2 separate pots because I'm using my big one over there right now. And if they fit all in one pot, like a half a cup of kosher salt or pickling salt, you would sprinkle some on, mix it through, sprinkle the rest on top. But I have 2 separate pots, so I went 1/3 of a cup of salt on each one instead of a 1/4 of a cup. I just wanted to make sure that I well salted them. So I put some on, mixed it through, and I sprinkled the rest on top. Put some on, mix it through, sprinkle the rest on top. I'm going to put them in a cool place, probably the refrigerator, covered for at least 12 hours. Okay. All right, now our green tomato chow. This is very popular in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland, the East Coast provinces. Probably even PEI, but yeah, the East Coast provinces of Canada, the Maritimes. So I transferred my onions and tomato into my roaster here. Look at all the water. And that was just sprinkled with salt. It wasn't sitting in water. That was from the canning salt or kosher salt that we put on there. So I really want to rinse these really well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I want to make sure that they don't taste like salty, okay? So rinse, 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 okay? Now, when you were slicing these up, you can wedge them, you can chop them, whatever you'd want to do. But just make sure that you did get all the stems. I found one right there. But make sure that you remove all of that. Okay, they're rinsed really well. And now on to the next step. They're just sitting in the colander there, they're just dripping off the excess water. I'm going to mix my pickling mixture in here. So I'm going to use 3 cups of vinegar, 1 cup of white wine vinegar. Sugars that you can use brown sugar or regular white granulated sugar, or a mixture of both, and that's what I like to do. I'm going to put 1.5 cups of brown, 2 cups of white. I love green tomato chow. Oh my gosh. Okay, and then what else am I going to put in here? Okay, now I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of mixed pickling spice. I just have this kind. Just 2 teaspoons of that. I'm going to add a teaspoon of turmeric. I'm going to put 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Now I'm going to put 1/2 teaspoon of cloves. It's ground cloves. And 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. Okay, I have my saucepan. I have a large stainless steel or whatever pan. And you want to put your drained onions and tomatoes in there. There's going to be a little bit of water, but yeah. Oh man, this stuff smells so good. This is going to take a while simmering on the stove. Now I'm going to put my mixture over. I'm going to turn this on to a high heat to get it started. A second, I'm going to bring that to a boil. Okay, now that is starting to boil. Once it's brought to a boil, I'm going to turn it down to a medium low heat. Do that now. I'm going to cover it. I'm going to come back every once in a while and I'm going to stir it. And I'm going to simmer that for the next hour and a half to 2 hours. Over here, I'm boiling some water. I put vinegar in my water, a little bit, like a half cup, because it helps, especially if you have hard water, it will help your jars not get a white film on them. It'll keep them nice and clear. So you want to boil your jars for 10 minutes and sterilize your covers with the boiling water as well, and your bands and your lids. And you want to, everything that you're using, sterilize it, put it on like a clean surface and stuff, okay? Okay, now that my jars have been all sterilized, I'm removing them from the pot. And I have my lids and bands, they're sterilized too. So getting it all ready to go, ready to rock and roll. And I'm going to turn off my chow that I have made in the pot there, and I'm going to fill my jars. I'm filling these jars and I'm leaving a head space of 1 centimeter or 1/2 inch from the top. And as I'm filling them, I'm releasing any air pockets by putting my plastic utensil down the sides like this, and then that'll let up like any bubbles, a lot of air. And then you're going to top up your jars with more liquid if you need to. Now I'm wiping the top of the jars with a I dip my paper towel in the sterilizing water, and I'm wiping the tops of my jars with it so that I can get a proper seal when I put the covers on. Now I'm putting a lid, I'm centering it on the jar, put it in the center. Now I'm going to put a band on, finger tight, like the tips of your finger you're going to tighten this with. Like you don't want to like really tighten it, because you're going to water bath it and you need that air to escape from the jar to give it a proper seal. So you don't want to really tighten it until like you're all done water bathing and everything, and then it's all sealed and that. So now I'm putting them into my pot, not touching each other, and my rack is in there so it's not touching the bottom. I'm submerging it in the water. The water is going to come above the jars a little bit, and I'm going to put the lid on. And when the lid is on, bring it back to a boil. I'm going to process it for 10 minutes, and after the 10 minutes I'm going to remove the cover and I'm going to process it for an additional 5 minutes. Now they're out and they'll start popping, and when the lid is smooth and there's no bubble on the lid, it's sealed, and then you can tighten your band on. I'm going to be hopefully taking a trip with my hubby back home, and my cousin Mel from Cooking with Cousin Mel. I'm going to be visiting her, and I promised her that I would take a jar, because if I don't, she won't let me on the island. I got 4 more jars in there. This will make you 10 to 500 ml jars. I love this. Every time I eat it, it reminds me of home. Serve room temperature or warm when you keep, you can it. You pantry it, but after you open it, of course, you put it in the fridge. But it tastes best at room temperature or a little warm with some mashed potatoes or roast supper. I have to get back to Sunday suppers because I'm so excited to share a whole bunch of things with everyone. Anywho, take a look. It's beautiful. And like I say, as my family has these and we open them, we'll share with you us eating them and tasting. Yes, peace, love, God bless. Please come back again for another video, and take care, everyone. Bye.